right, doing it live. Wow. I think we are doing it almost live. I think we are. I think we're live. YouTube just doesn't want to catch up to me. Perhaps. Okay. Well, wait a minute. Okay, nope, I am live. Sorry, everybody, if you were already here and looking. Okay. Just gotta pop out the chat. And then drag it over here. Wait a minute. Wavelength out here. Bear with me. I'm trying to figure out why the hell this is not doing the thing. Yeah, it is thundering as fuck outside if you cannot hear that. Okay. let me double check that. Okay. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, fuck it. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So, hey. Fuck, I'm hot now. Okay. Got inspired after yesterday's stream to rewatch 1917. Hell yeah. Awesome. Hell yeah. Man, okay, no, I gotta figure out I gotta get the chat on this little camera screen. Come on, man. What are you doing? Come on, guy. You don't know what you're doing to me. Window. Move and resize. Maybe. Yeah, it's the fact. So I have these two screens on my laptop and my monitor, but then there is on the teleprompter, it's got a mirror screen, so it can like put it over there. So it looks like I'm looking right at the camera, which is awesome, because then I can look right at you. But there's something going on. I'm gonna have to figure it out. I don't want to waste any more time on that, because I've already wasted a lot of time. Yesterday I had a lot of plans, but no, that's awesome about 1917. I need to rewatch that, and also need to rewatch All Quiet on the Western Front, just to get back in the vibe. Which, for anyone who has not read that or watched that, reading it, I can't stress, that is one of my favorite books. Period. It's just a really good book. The set design is phenomenal. It's fucking crazy. Yeah, no. The set design, honestly, every movie, like, I'm really pumped that like Battlefield 1 did as well as it did, because I'm very biased that I'm pretty fucking sure that is the reason that we went from having like two World War I movies to like a bunch, and like a bunch that were like really fucking well made. Which that is another thing, as far as 1917 and yeah, it's so good. They did such a good job in both of those movies of like really capturing the vibe. Best, in my opinion, like my favorite. If you're like, hey, I want to watch something like World War I, and this is probably not very surprising because I'm forever Feels boy, but I really recommend They Shall Not Grow Old, which is it's not a like an action movie like the other two. It's a documentary. If you've not seen it, I cannot stress enough how worth your time that movie is. My wife and I went and saw it when they put it out in theaters. It's Peter Jackson. So Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. Everyone knows Peter Jackson. So he is a huge World War I buff, because I want to say he had family members that were actually involved. So like he has like a, part of his like actual like family history kind of thing there too. So he just like passion project, took all of this, which is really cool because, I've been to this place. In England, in jolly old, I don't think it's in London, but it might be London. The shit, what is it? It is the Imperial War Museum, in London. Yeah, the Imperial War Museum in London. It is fucking huge. It is one of the single most interesting places I've ever been in my entire life. I could stay in there. I could live in there. There's just so much knowledge. Not even just like, ooh, it's war stuff, because it's not just a gun and like knife museum. It captures what makes, I think, war fucking horrifying. And it really sums that up, I think, because the top floor is the Holocaust like memorial, and it is the single heaviest place I've ever been in my entire life. And I absolutely would go back, and I would like to look at it with a fresh set of eyes. But at the time, it was a little too much even for me, and I'm pretty hard to stagger. I have true grit. I'm trying to think. Or stubborn. I don't know what my special rules are at this point. They keep fucking changing them. I'll have to figure out. I'll look at Trench Crusade. But the Imperial War Museum, Peter Jackson took a metric shit ton of film that was made during the Great War, during World War One. So, like, a lot of people don't understand. It's just like, also, it was 100 years. 100 years is not shit. Like, that's not very much time. Like, we have not been dealing with Nazis for like less than 100 years. Like, it's 60 years. 80 years. 80 years since World War II-ish. 80, 90. I don't know. That reminds me of I had an ex that worked on Post, and they got to meet a World War II vet. And I just remember how deeply disturbed she was. She was just like, he was just so sweet and so nice and so little. He was just this little old man. And I was just like, oh my goodness. And I was shaking his hand, and I was thanking him for his service. And it was like, oh, he's just this sweet little old man. Yeah, I can't, and then he's turning around, and it's just like, I was looking at all the stuff on him, and I was like, oh, that sweet little old man was a flamethrower operator. That little old man burned people alive. And that's ethics with a RedWetSkeleton. Sometimes that sweet little man burnt maybe Nazis alive. You hope. You never really know. And that's that. But so Peter Jackson, really big fan. Oh my, yeah. So Peter Jackson, really big fan of World War One history, that kind of stuff. The kind of fan that owns like 16-pounder cannons, like he just owns his own. And that I mentioned that specifically because there's a part where he was talking about all like if you stayed, I don't know if they actually, I don't know if it was part of the actual release, but like whenever we went to the theater, like it was only shown, there was only like one theater in our state that like showed this, and they only had it playing like I think two times. But I had to go, so we went up and made a date of it. But they had so much film that essentially he took and he fixed it, but he didn't fix it like Hollywood. He fixed it like you would fix it if you really truly cared and loved the thing that you were trying to fix. And like I mean, I got teary-eyed just watching him talk about the things that he did because it's the, again, it is a level of care. You would not do this if you did not love it. If you don't love it, then you wouldn't fucking waste your time doing this kind of stuff. But just a 5, to 10 minute little clip of video, and I mean, they spent years just painstakingly making sure that they showed the right color, that everything was as accurate as possible to like show respect to these like people that are in the film. And then the thing that like fucking blew my mind was they had people, and this is, I'm sure, Tyler is all right at painting. This is, I'm assuming, his job, like his kind of job, what he does for a living is what these people do. And I would love to talk to him about that all fucking day. But looking at these old ass pictures and hyper focusing on everything about these people in the pictures to where they can pick out what units of PALs they were from, which that was a big thing with World War One, which again shows how fucked up the whole situation was. PAL units were literally what they sound like. It's a unit of your friends. You just all go sign up together to die together. Fucking horrifying. So yeah, PAL units, they were a thing. But they were looking at these videos and they were like, oh yeah, well, we know this guy based on this and this and this. We know that they are from this district of London, or they would be from this region. So they then went about finding people that were from that area that would have that accent, that would have the dialect that the people had in the film. And they just spent, it's nuts. It is truly nuts how much time they spent trying to do things right and like just to do the right thing, in my opinion. I mean, they should not grow it. I'm sure it won a fuck ton of awards or whatever else, but it's very clear that the first and foremost thing that Peter Jackson was trying to do was like pay homage to something that he really cares about. And that, I think, comes into play when he's talking about, well, the issues that we ran into. He was just like, one of the issues that we ran into was that the sound was so utterly obliterated in this clip that when they fired the 12-pounder, it just ruined everything. So I knew I had to get a new recording of that. So I did what anyone would do, and I went and I got my 12-pounder, and he owns the dude owns just like I have no even idea how massive this place has to be. A warehouse that he just has like original World War One shit, like in these like you pull them out. It's like the dry cleaning, but it's like a fucking just storage system to store like perfectly preserved clothing, weapons, everything. It's just nuts. Just Peter Jackson was just like, oh yeah, that's my museum. I needed to know exactly what that 18-pounder sounded like, and I never will know that, but this one was made 3 days afterwards on the same production line, so it should sound something like this. That kind of stuff. I'm all about that. And that is a long tangent. Sorry. I sure can yap. I like to talk. But before I do that all day, wait a minute. It's really storming out there. Ooh-wee. Professional yapper. I am. I'm trying. Ooh-wee. I'm trying to make it my profession. Man, my water bottle is in the water. My basement's taking on so much water these days. I went upstairs yesterday and I was like, oh, it's not going to be too bad. And then I pulled my rug up, and I'm really glad I did, because if I hadn't, my rug would be soaking wet right now. The water has now come in from all directions. The water level in our neighborhood has gotten very, very high, apparently. So hopefully this is one of the last few times that I have to deal with this before they're putting in these giant, like, the new audio setup sounds amazing. Thank you, Eric. Get that Flex Seal shit and had them. So that's like, yeah, like that is, my whole plan is essentially, they make all kinds of different, I don't think I'm going to do Flex Seal, but a similar concept, like the Be Dry or True Be Lock. Like the idea is, our neighbors had a French drain put in, and I'm not knocking that at all. So a French drain is typically used on the outside of a structure. That's a lot of damage. Hell yeah, Eric. God. That's a lot of damage. What's your damage? Flex Seal guy. Man, I can't. That's I'm gonna fall down that. I'm just gonna start screaming Billy Mays here. And then start talking about cocaine. So a French drain, essentially, our neighbors had one put in because they had an actual leak, I believe. I don't think they had what we have. So while our basement takes on water, it only happens when the ground level actually gets too much water. So like if you have a lot of water, like a puddle outside your house, but it's not going down into the ground, if you had like a crack and it was coming in through that way, that's like that's one kind of way. Mine is technically everybody's house kind of should have this problem because it's just how houses are made. The hydrostatic pressure and that kind of thing. It's just depending on where the house is, you might not have water coming in during torrential downpour. Hopefully you don't. But again, Kentucky, we live on, I'm honestly happy that my house doesn't just turn into a sinkhole every day. I'm pretty thankful for that. There's like a whole half of our town that like it's a sinkhole, like, and you can kind of tell. And that's the only house that we actually went to go look at other than this one. I rented this house and then we ended up just buying it. But the other house that we looked at, because of the sinkhole that it was in, it had shifted. Like literally here is the poured driveway and here's the house. I could put my hand in the hole that the house had shifted that much. And I was like, oh no, thank you for showing us this. We will be on our way. But yeah, this is the devil I know. So it would take a lot for me to leave here. But around the edges, instead of doing a French drain, which would be where you knock a bunch of holes, you essentially make a drainage area, to like gather the water. You would put like a pipe, PVC pipe, or any other kind of pipe really, with holes, and then rocks for drainage. And then essentially it all leads to a single place to be let out. And then you drill holes around the edges to allow water to come in easier. And that doesn't sound smart to me, all of that, just because I don't want water to come in any easier to my house. So I think I would rather, they make a bunch of stuff that it alters the chemical components of concrete, because we're at that level of science fiction now, to make it more water resistant. So I think I'm going to clean the walls, remove I believe it's called emulsion, but it's like this white powder that happens when moisture gathers on concrete over time, but you have to use muriatic acid to remove it. So I've got that. So it's like a step-by-step process of get the emulsion off there with the acid. Isn't that historical fiction? I don't know. If I said something that's not wrong, please correct me, Possum. Rome was doing that shit back in the day. No. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, like French drains wise. Yeah. No, like that's the term. Yeah, it's an aqueduct, essentially. Essentially an aqueduct. French drain, the reason for it, I don't know the name. The concrete thing. Isn't that historical fiction? What was doing that shit back in the day? Maybe. If you mean like the altering it chemically, I mean, shit, probably. The my joke about like, oh, we're at like that level of science fiction now of like, changing concrete. I mean, technically we could have done that then. It's just more of now I can go to the store and buy something that I just paint on the wall and it does that. That's what I mean. But as far as like them fucking with concrete, oh, I'm sure. Again, yeah, I had that kind of conversation with Clay on the way up where it was just like, it's funny to think about the Greeks and the Romans, and people are like, oh yeah, but they believed in blank, blank, blank. And it's just like, I can't stress enough that I have a very hard time believing that the guys that figured out how far the sun is from our earth using shadows and triangles really believed in the gods that they say. I think that they were aware that they made those up and that they were concepts to teach lessons. I think the idea of thinking that the Greeks and Romans had no concept of context, but were able to give us almost everything else that we have about science and math, as far as like principles, is very humorous. But I do also like the idea that just like, oh, math and science, they were just gifts from the gods. That'd be cool. The Egyptians kind of were right with that, with like cats and all. I'm just saying. I want to be that guy at New York that just sits out like Central Park with the signs, just like the Egyptians were right, and just sitting with my cat and just like change my mind. That's all I'm gonna start doing. If what I'm trying to do here doesn't go over well, and I need money, I'm just gonna start doing that. So with all that ranting and raving, go watch They Shall Not Grow Old. It's really, really good. Read All Quiet on the Western Front if you haven't. And if you have, the movie is worth watching. It's not the same thing because, it's just they're different. They don't handle the same things in the movie that they do in the books that really fucked me up. And I think that's the reason that I find World War One interesting or so interesting is probably the same reason that I kind of only listen to music from people that are around my age, if not younger, that are dead now. I've started to piece together. It's like, oh wow, I really have a certain kind of vibe that I kind of like. But yeah, typically, I really the parts of All Quiet on the Western Front that really stuck with me are one. I've talked about this, but I'm almost certain that they are at the Battle of Ypres at one point because he's talking about the mud, but it could just be the mud because that's the whole fucking thing. But there's a part where he briefly talks about walking out of one of the trenches, talking with people, having some caffeine, and then getting out to go into another trench and coming back just a few minutes later, and the entire trench that he was in just sitting there is just gone. It's gone. There's not oh, it got hit. It's so not existing, and the people that were there are just not people anymore, that it's just staggering. And then the part that they didn't put in the movie that always hits the hardest for me is when he goes home. And that's the most fucked up thing, I think, really, when you read about World War One and you read about anyone there, it was and afterwards, when I say that, it absolutely changed our world, fundamentally it did. Medicine, the amount of things that we had to learn how to treat because we just fucking went crazy and threw chlorine gas on people and shit. My favorite, because it is seriously, it's like if you told me, hey, you have unlimited rain, just make the scariest fucking thing you can to use in a war. I would make the Livens projector. It's the scariest thing I've ever heard of, and it's so ridiculous that it's over the top funny. But someone did that, and they were like, yeah, okay, cool, we're going to do it. And it's wait a minute, I was just doing that as a bit. That's really scary. Don't make that. But yeah, I know I've ranted about the Livens projector before, but it's absolutely, I think it is the pinnacle of we have lost our fucking minds. You clearly have gone off the deep end here, buddy. But it is just just a giant fucking flamethrower. Like a flamethrower that essentially has to have a tunnel with like the big cylinders, tanks. It just has to have a tunnel with giant tanks the size of almost a fucking football field to fuel this thing. But essentially it's just a flamethrower that could just spray half of a football field in fire. It is so scary. You can go, you can pop off here and just type in Livens projector, and you can find there's a video. I love it. I love that video. Watch it a couple times a year, maybe, when I'm showing people Livens projectors, when it just randomly gets brought up. They're like, "That's scary." I'm like, "You want to talk about scary?" But it's this British man. It's these two British guys, and they're like, I think it's like the last functioning one left, because there was like, I think it's between 6 and 12 of these. And that's what is really funny also to me. Like reading through Trench Crusade, when you get to like, oh yeah, there's hundreds of these, or it's like, yeah, they made 86. And it's just like, I really like that they picked, how do we need more than one? Yeah. How did we need more than one? I think, yeah, I don't know. But the video that I've seen, and I love it so much because it's this British guy, and they've got the Livens projector, and there's two of them, and they are standing so far back, and like when it starts up, it just goes. It is just crazy, and he just goes, "Dear merciful God," in his British accent, but he's so far and it still burns his fucking eyebrows off. It's just, somebody really was just like, either A, they just tapped into that like full nihilism mode that like, it's fun to play in sometimes, where you're just like, what if nothing matters and I just make monstrous things? And they made that, and then someone was like, all right, let's start building it, and they were like, whoa, what? No, because not only that, one, that's fucking horrifying. Two, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize if you have a football field of explosive fuel underneath the ground in a war that was essentially nonstop artillery, like, I mean, the amount of like munitions that were just being thrown out of the sky on just every single day, to the point that like the cannons themselves were buried in the ground. Like, that's another thing I love seeing, is just like pictures of, it's just like, oh man, I wonder where the rest of that mortar is. It's like just a pole sticking out of the ground because it's fired so much that like it just pushed itself in, and then they couldn't get it out. And now that's where that cannon lives. It lives there. Maybe with the shell still in there. Horrifying. World War I. Passchendaele. So, yesterday, oh boy, I got off on a lot of crazy tangents this morning, but it was because I was really pumped to talk about Passchendaele and Ypres and Amiens. Which, before I get off into that, last thing about World War I that I'm really fucking pumped to talk about, and we're going to do something, Trench Crusade, Lafayette. Fuck yeah. Marquis de Lafayette. If you are French, you know that name. And if you're American, you should know that name. But the Marquis de Lafayette is probably my favorite French person ever. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother. Essentially, the Marquis de Lafayette was this marquis. So, like, he's doing well off, like an aristocrat in, like, France. And during the American Revolution, he was just like, fuck yeah. Hell yeah, brother. And, like, he came over here to help us. The key thing about this is it was illegal. Like, the king told him, don't fuck with this shit. And he was just like, yeah, fuck you. And yeah, just unapologetically gave his support to America. And then eventually came here and actually physically helped. But that is brought up here because there is a book that I fucking love. And I cannot, I want to say it's Price of Glory. Price of Glory. Victory. Makes me wonder if Michael Bay knows about the Livens projector. Maybe. I would think. I mean, There's so many things. Like the experimental weaponry of World War One is some of the most horrifying shit. There's another, like, the Livens projector was just the giant colossal flamethrower, but there's another, and I want to say in Battlefield One they labeled something a Livens projector, but it was not the same thing. But it was a bunch of gas canisters. Essentially, it was a bunch of tubes that were set in the ground to automatically just like just unleash just a fuck ton of gas, like grenades. But that's not the same concept as what this thing was. It looked almost like the laser batteries on Hoth. Not the big dish ones, but the big tube ones that have the one that go when they're shooting at the AT-ATs in Empire Strikes Back. It looked kind of like that, but instead of being white with a black hose, it's just all like one color. But yeah, really fucking scary. Livens projectors, really scary. But yeah, I think we needed more than one because, again, they only could have it in one spot. And then, I mean, as soon as it get hits, yeah, the small trench ones were more common. Yeah, that's the icon. And I will absolutely share. I took so many pictures at the Imperial War Museum. I don't know if I was allowed to. And one of my favorites is my wife next to Mother, going, which Mother is a siege howitzer that, its name is Mother. It's written on the side of it, but it's, I mean, three times her size probably, but it's just like, it's really scary to think about. It's like that thing ended a lot of people. Like, they had no idea. They had no idea that this thing named Mother on, like, the other side of a town, firing shells like this fucking big, just turned their, street into a hole. But they had so many things that were just amazing to see in person. And one of the absolute coolest was a section of trench. They have a section of trench set up that you have to walk in, so you get the same kind of vibe. And the thing that is the most impressive to me is they had someone that clearly knows how sound works. Like, I don't mean like, oh, they understand sound. I mean, like, they set it up to where when you walk in this trench, you hear different things depending on where you are. And that is so fucking cool. But yeah, they have it set up to where you're walking in this trench. You hear different things. You can see like shadows and stuff. But then above you is one of the last few, I want to say this is a Mark IV, not a Mark I, but a Mark IV tank, land ship. The ones that, I mean, the OG tanks, like the Mark IV, between the Mark I and the Mark IV, the changes, I mean, it's if you go and you look like between those tanks, land ships, because yeah, they're not tanks like in the way that you think of a tank. They really are much more like a boat. Very silly, but I love them. They're so good. And I love how half of them fucking just malfunctioned as soon as they like started, just because of how insanely complicated they were. I love the desperateness of it all. I guess we have to evolve, but trying to evolve in the most self-destructive way possible. Like, we didn't evolve our hearts, we evolved our like minds and how to kill each other and our savagery. That's what we did for 4 years. We never thought, hey, maybe we shouldn't just fucking kill each other. And it's just such an interesting repeat of history fucking forever for me. But it is the pinnacle of, this is just us being fucking bad and killing each other. World War One, in my opinion. And there was a lot of things that led to it. But at the end of the day, it only continued and kept being as awful and monstrous as it was because of our actual nature. And that's just my personal opinions. But I think there's just so much that can be learned, and there's so much interesting stuff, especially with the technology, with the science side of things. And that's why we, again, like, the amount of like our technology as a species, like after World War One, it was just, you couldn't compare them before. Like, again, horses cars, tanks, planes. That was the whole thing that I was trying to get to with this is, and actually it might be the Price of Glory, or nope, it's To the Last Man. That's the name. There's a lot of really good World War One books. To the Last or To the Last Man. It was actually recommended by my buddy Steve, who I love. He's great. Not Hive Scum Steve, Cowboy Steve. So he recommended that to me after we found out that we both are like huge like World War One and military like history buffs. And I don't want to say like military history. Really, it's just World War One. I get interested in some World War Two stuff, but it's really quickly I just go right back to World War One because World War Two is just too black and white for me, and all the things that I really enjoy about World War One because like I get to learn. It's just like, yep, they're already learned. This is just World War Two is just, yep, we're just shit. We're just shitty people. World War One, there was still that. It's not anybody's like the bad guy. No one's doing Nazi shit. And also it was just the, and even then with World War Two though, I mean, I'll touch on that. It's the same issues as World War One. It's us. It's us. It's the general population being used like meat. That's it. And I think there's a lot to be fucking thought about and taken from that. So all of that and why I'm ranting about all this and why I brought up Lafayette, To the Last, it's really good because it covers a bunch of different people who existed in World War One. It covers their stories, including, Rick. I'm trying to remember the Red Baron's actual name. Richtenhof. I don't remember his. I'm not going to be able to remember his extremely German name. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and throw out there, like, Red Baron is the single greatest pilot who ever lived, or dogfighter, because, like, he may not have the most, like, successful, like, kills, and, like, his KD's not as high as, like, the dudes from, like, World War II. But, again, he's flying a trash plane. Like, the Red Baron was just a human being that was just born to be put in an airplane, like, and be really good at it. And that's something that I kind of, like, I kind of enjoy the concept of that because it's just like, I really enjoyed reading about or listening because I listened to the audiobook version of it. And I'm not like, like, oh yeah, again, like it wasn't I don't know, World War One, there's just quality over quantity. Yeah. But that's, I mean, really, I guess, I don't know. And it really, everything about the Red Baron summarizes World War One. I think is that I can find a kindred spirit in it because of his lack. When you read, like, he's a person. He's not. He has the same struggles as other people have. Like, he does not. I can find a relation to it because there's very clearly a lot of things that's just like, yeah, I can do this and I can be good at this, but I have no fucking desire. I don't want to be on the horse. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. But he went from all these different things and he just could not do them. And he wanted to be a cavalryman, I want to say, because his father was. And he did that for just a little bit, but he fucking hated it and he just couldn't do it. And then he randomly, the whole situation that got him into a plane was just, it just happened, and then he goes on to essentially be the greatest fucking pilot, like, in my very biased opinion, until another nobody, we don't even know who, another nobody shoots him down from the ground. Like, I'm pretty sure went too low, and and by a nobody, I mean that in, like, every way I can, like, positive and negative. Like, everybody's a nobody. Like, that's the thing. It's just wild that the guy that's on the pizza box, the fucking Red Baron, he was able to get into these planes that, again, I can't stress. It's not the fact that, like, oh, yeah, he got he was a dogfighter, blah, blah, blah. The life expectancy for people in a plane at this point was like 15 minutes. Period. That's not dogfighting. That's in the plane. You get in the plane, like, yeah, if you live more than 15, you're already doing better than everybody because we don't fucking know how to fly. Like, we're working on it. But then the moment you start slapping machine guns on there, like that's a whole nother fucking thing. And that's a whole nother thing that like a group of people had to think of how do we get the propeller? Like you have to think about the synchronization of that. It's fucking nuts. These are things that like people, I love this kind of stuff, but people take for granted. The man makes a mean thin crust. Amen, brother. I do love a good Red Baron pizza. They're very, very crisp, very crunch. But yeah, especially pepperoni. I like a good Red Baron pepperoni. In my head canon, it was Snoopy that eventually shut down the Red Baron. I also support that, Eric. I watched a lot of Peanuts as a kid, and apparently I did have a pin of him like sitting on his like dog house with this little like Red Baron like thing. I remember that distinctly. I did not know who the Red Baron was at the time I was a child, but that was one of the things I really enjoyed. Was reading more about the Red Baron and reading that he was just a regular fucking dude, like Manfred von Richthofen, I want to say is his name. It's Manfred though. Manfred von Richthofen, I want to say. But yeah, the fact that he was able to, one, not die in the plane, but then two, go on to teach other people how to not die in the plane, and then teach people how to hunt in the plane, other people in the plane, is just very wild to me. Because again, like it's like waking up, someone being like, hey, do you want to come try this thing? And then like within a year, you become the best person in the world at that thing, and then teach people how to do that thing at like a level that like, yeah. And this is also like, say you want to like, you're doing flying and it's really hard, but you're like, yeah, but also there's another guy flying. You're like, okay, let's shoot at him. And now you're dogfighting. It's just like, I can't even imagine. It's just all that's just so crazy to me. But that kind of shit happened in World War One. And I mean, all, you know, on every like level, physically, like metaphorically of that. And that's so interesting to me. The Lafayette, why I brought that up is because that is another one of the groups that they cover in that book, is the Lafayette drill. I want to say it's the very first Americans to join the war are pilots, and they join the French while they are in France. There's essentially some people that are in France when World War One breaks out, and they are fucking done, and they can't fucking deal with America not doing what it should be doing in their views, and they get involved. So they essentially join the French private like air drill, and there's a whole name for it, but all this comes down to one very, very important fact that I fucking love. And if I've ever talked to you about this before, you probably already know it. And you know I'm talking about the lion cub, baby. At some point in time, these rowdy boys go out and they're having a party, having a drink, and someone sells one of them a baby lion. And he's just like, fuck yeah, hell yeah, brother. So there's just this American like out in wherever, like in France, just dicking around, being American, being drunk at a bar, and some guy's just like, hey man, you want to buy a lion? I can't stress enough, I would be that guy every time. I'd be like, yes, I do. Wait a minute, how big is it? And then once they showed me, I'd be like, okay, yeah, shut up and take my money. I have held a lion before. They're very, very, very stout. It was a little baby lion. He was like this big, but he still was like 60 fucking pounds. It was just all beef. That was because we went to this is fucking weird. My life's weird. In North Carolina, Concord, North Carolina, it's a smaller town, like like it's near Charlotte, but it's still bigger than E-Town. But because it's smaller than Charlotte and closer to Charlotte, a lot of stuff that is in Charlotte, 100% all beef lion cubs, they really are. They are just beefy babies. All beef baby. It's a smaller town on the outside of Charlotte, but because time, they both have gotten so big, but Charlotte is still so much bigger. So Charlotte just kind of gets the things that are in Concord affiliated, like the Charlotte Motor Speedway, which is like a NASCAR track. I'm not a NASCAR guy, but my family lives in that town. So you don't live in a town that has a NASCAR speedway and not have some part of your life affected by it, because you're going to hear it. And also the traffic's just fucking insane. But shit, where was I going with that? Concord. Yeah. So they also had the Concord Mills Mall, which is, and this is kind of cool, but it was supposed to be a reference to the same speed track. It's like the same size. So like if you walk the whole thing, it was like 3 miles. One fun thing, we did get to ride, like to drive on the track at one point in time, and holy fuck, like it is like a 45. Like at one point in time, I can distinctly remember being like, oh man, I'm going the other way, huh? But hi, baby. What are you doing? Oh no, there's shit on top of the deep freeze. I can get it. Okay. Yeah, that was the same mall that had the Games Workshop that I lived in for like a year. Not a year, like a summer. But I did live there for like a summer. Like I worked there without getting paid. But I was there. I'll kill it. Ah, motherfucker. Drown. I'm back. But yeah. I'll probably try to find that picture of that lion cub. There's a picture of me and my little sister holding that baby lion cub. He was fun. But yeah, long story short, the zoo that I got to hold a baby lion. The zoo, there is like a weird mom and pop like zoo, and I don't think it's open anymore. I would highly doubt if it is. But there was a zoo in Concord that was very small. And they had most of the animals behind chain link fence, including a liger, which that was the first time I had ever seen one. And this was before the movie Napoleon Dynamite came out. So it was just like, I was like, what the fuck? But it just looked like a lion with, lighter tiger stripes. But then they also had a Siberian white tiger. And I distinctly remember it running and jumping and grabbing hold of the chain link fence. And it was just like, wow, you guys are really feeling confident with this chain link, huh? I'm not at all. And then I think a camel bit my mom, and then there were some peacocks. It was a weird zoo, man. But the whole thing comes down to, it was like a bunch of people just like, oh yeah, we got a zoo. And that's what they did. And one of the main ways that they were able to survive was Dale Earnhardt. Rest in peace, wherever his soul may be. Dale Earnhardt was a big game hunter because he likes to kill animals, I guess, like that. And then he would donate their corpses to this zoo. So that's fun. That was a long story. That's how I got to hold a baby lion one time, and it was heavy. But he did not give me any bites, and he didn't try to claw me. He was just kind of a big boy. He was a beef boy, that's for sure. Might have been a girl, but I think it was a little boy. I don't remember. I'll have to look. I'll have to see. I've got a picture of the lion. I'm sure I don't have a picture of this lion's genitalia or anything. I didn't ask its pronouns or anything like that. I'm tired. I've got a lot of shit going on. So yesterday, I had every intention to like come back and start streaming and shit, but the basement started flooding a lot more than anticipated, and I also got really deep into a whole bunch of other stuff, and I moved a bunch of things because I need to get my printers running. So in order to do that, I have to, it's a very complicated process. So since my shop used to be on that side of the basement, that's where I put all the outlets for it. I wanted my shop to have its own circuit, own 20 amp circuit. That way I can do whatever I'm doing in here and it doesn't, flip anything. So yesterday I moved my outlets for like 8 over here behind my new table with my printers on it. I took the shelves that were split and I put them back into one. It's right here now. And I know you all can't see this, but I will, once I am done like getting things ready, I'd love to do a tour to like show my shop and how I have things set out and laid out. Pretty much my favorite animal. I love lions. They're great. And I love tigers and ligers, cats. I'm a cat guy. I like cats. A lot of people know that already though. Cat daddy. So yesterday I did that. I fucked around with the printers, getting them over there. My mom has a vertical, I want to say it's a vertical filing cabinet, or yeah, they're the ones that always, oh sure, just casually move all your outlets. Yeah, I did that. I did that for half. I would have gotten more done. Unfortunately, again, my basement I have a lot of shit, so I have to move the shit while doing it, while the basement's flooded during a thunderstorm. So it's been fun trying to remember like, oh, that outlet doesn't work right now because it's turned off. Oh, that outlet doesn't work either because it's turned off. And then, climbing up in the ceiling, like my wife got home for lunch and she was like, oh my God, your hair. And it just looked like I've been like dusting the basement ceiling because I kind of had with my head because I kind of was. So yeah. But on a positive note, I got a lot of dust, I guess, out of like the floorboards using my head kind of like a mop. But so today I'm going to be finishing that up. I don't think you could see it in the picture, but the mounts that I have for my lights, I've got a minute. So these things are fucking crazy. The key lights from Elgato. Also, when I say they're crazy, like they are built very well, and they're built very well. Like, I busted my face on this yesterday. Pretty good. It was like, oh, fuck, because it was like at that angle. And I don't know. It was right at the angle that I couldn't, and then just bam. Also, moving outlets during a basement flood seems maybe a bad idea, but I'm not an electrician. Yeah, okay. Also, just to touch on that. I don't ever want to make anybody think that they should just go and do anything dangerous with electricity. So don't do any of that if you do not feel safe. All of my wiring, I do all of it dead. I don't fuck with live wiring. I don't do that. And I think that eventually people who do that do it until they don't either because they're dead. I don't know. I've never understood the concept of trying to fuck with a live electrical signal if there's not a reason that you have to. Like, so all the stuff that like I do in my house, like it's essentially I'm building out the circuit, and then I will go to the panel and then I'll turn everything off and then I'll wire the new circuit into the panel. Yeah, that's how I typically go about it. Yeah. Also, moving outlets during a basement flood seems maybe a bad idea. Yeah. No. I get the concerns. I'm not trying to encourage people to do dangerous things. There's a very, very, very specific way that I've gone about doing it. That is not dangerous, if that makes sense. It's not dangerous. I'm trying to make sure I'm explaining how this is done. So essentially, I just am setting up. Like I have my outlets, I have the wire. Everything is connected except for where the actual electricity touches. That's the end that I do, like that I've been doing today. The actual part where it's just like, okay, this is where it starts to get dangerous. Yeah, then I'm not anywhere near water. I'm not anywhere near anything like that. But yeah. But yeah, no, casually moving my outlets. I rewired my whole house during COVID. That was one of the things that I did because it was wired by an absolute psychopath. And I wanted to make sure that I'm very... I don't want to die or my family. Like, I'm very, very just firm of like, yep, shit happens, so you should prepare for it. So I wanted to make sure that my house was as safe for my cats and my wife as I could. So all of our outlets are AFCI, GFCI, 20 amps, because I like to be able to run a power drill while my wife is vacuuming and doing her hair in the same room. And I do take a good sense of pride when in there any other like tradesman comes in my house and they have to fuck with the panel and they go, Jesus, who over engineered this? And I was like, oh, it was me. It was me. And it would have been way more over engineered if I had had my way, but I did have to think about money and space. But yeah, and the thing that I mentioned, AFCI, GFCIs, that's arc fault and ground fault. So essentially, if there is anything whatsoever that causes a hiccup, it just kills it. Which a lot of people do not like them because they are sensitive as fuck. That's why I like them. I wanted to make my house that if you flip a breaker in my house, you need to think, what the fuck am I doing? And stop doing it. Like, if you flip a breaker, it's because you're doing something really dangerous. So, yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. And I also understand that I am working on trying to get better at how I communicate. And I think that this is actually a really good, I think that's been very helpful, this whole situation, as well as vice versa. But like communicating with my wife, like everyone outside, just communicating with everyone outside, I think the more people that I open myself to talk to, the more I realize the way I talk and how to present what I'm trying to say in a different way. Sometimes I need to just think like that. So I don't know, man, I've been rambling. My wife is making the coffee. I can hear it. It's because I've waited 4 extra minutes and I'm very sorry, but I did hear her doing it. So it should be done in a little bit. Today. So why I started ranting about all that, I had to attach the mount for my camera so I can have the camera above the table so I can show you guys the books that I'm looking at and show you guys the models that I'm working with, because I don't want to have that arm on the desk. The more arms that I have on the desk, the less shit I can have on the desk and it like be easy to work with. So it's just been that. I kind of forgot that I left after not finishing setting up my workshop. So I'm still like in the process of setting it up, getting things where they need to be, moving outlets, getting things plugged in where they're going to be. That way I can really start doing the thing. But I really shouldn't, it shouldn't take that long today. I'm hoping to start. I've got all of my books. I look like a real psychopath. So just lots of binders. This is just literally the armory. And I initially wasn't going to talk about that, but this is how I do what I do. So I will set up the camera so you guys can see me and you can see the table. I'll get this fixed so I'm not looking over there and looking at this. But I think the big issue is it's like 6:40 in the morning or 6 something when I come down. So I'm like, technology, brain's not on. You guys get it. So thank you for sticking with me. Also, again, don't do anything dangerous with electricity. I'm not trying to encourage that. But yeah, I've pretty much split the rule books, the rule book, various rules and different things for Trench Crusade into different little binders. That way I can look at them all at the same time, because while it is all available for free online, which is wonderful, I flip through shit so much. I like to look at this and look at that and look at this and look at that. Which having it very, readily available to print off so I can print as many as I need, or I can do this where I split the book into different pamphlets, is really handy for me and how my brain works. But I'm really excited to go through this. The first 2 warbands that I'm going to be making, I want to stick, not to be super plain Jane, but I'm going to go with the 2 that are absolutely going to be the easiest in my opinion to kit bash or throw together to start playing and start like getting into the game. So New Antioch and the Heretic Legion. So those are the 2 that I'm going to start with. Part of me, because not all of them, most of them have different variant lists. I did briefly think about doing, where are they? The Sturmtruppen of the Free State of Prussia, because again, Prussia during World War I got me really pumped. The main thing, that's what it was. This is what got me pumped, and this is why I was like, yeah, that's Prussia, all right. But it was the quote at the very end: when inducted into the ranks, all swear an oath at the Königsberg Cathedral. To each his own. To me, death. And I was just like, fuck yeah. Like that's some straight, like that's where World War One. That's stormtroopers. That is Prussia. We have stormtroopers in Star Wars because of the Prussians and the Germans in World War One. They invented stormtroopers. They invented shock troops. Like they just fucking went over the top while all hocked up on amphetamines. Like, yeah, that's another thing. It was just like, oh yeah, just getting all riled up. A lot of things to relate to. I am gonna probably call it here because I've got to go make the coffee. It's now done. But thank you all for listening to me ranting and raving. I might be back now. Splitting them is smart. Scrolling back and forth on the PDF between list building and items is miserable. Yeah, that was my thinking. Which I bet. See, and I was gonna say, oh, you could split the PDF, but if you're only on one screen, like that's I really hand stuff. I like hand stuff. I like being able to put my hands on it. And I've got a bunch of like cards and stuff that I'm going to be making, like visual aids. I really want to show that. But yeah, I'm going to drop here. I might pop back on later on today, but it just depends how much I get done. But yeah, thank you all so much for popping on here and keeping me company and listening to me rant and rave. Thank you for the support. I will talk to you guys later. Sit pretty.